In the vast bureaucratic nightmare that was galactic politics, only one rule remained blissfully uncodified, yet universally observed. Don't mess with human vessels. Not because some ancient treaty demanded it, or because the consequences were outlined in triplicate on official documentation. No, this particular guideline persisted through the far more effective mechanism of terrified whispers and career-ending object lessons. The humans, you see, were relatively new to the galactic stage, a mere 3 centuries since they'd bumbled their way into faster-than-light travel by accidentally inverting a quantum field while trying to create a more efficient coffee maker. The resulting caffeine drive, humans and their naming conventions were another source of galactic bewilderment, had catapulted them into interstellar society with all the grace of a drunk giraffe on roller skates. But what humans lacked in elegance, they made up for with a particularly troublesome combination of traits. Technological improvisation that bordered on the magical, diplomatic unpredictability that gave veteran ambassadors night terrors, and a response to threats that could only be described as enthusiastically disproportionate. Admiral Zex Tarrell of the Vexari Dominion had heard these stories, of course. The Vexari, imagine if octopi evolved on land, developed a rigid exoskeleton, and became obsessed with military hierarchy, considered themselves the rising power in the Orion Spur. Their 7-limbed salutes were becoming a common sight as their territory expanded through a combination of economic pressure and strategic annexations. The humans are overrated, Zex Tarrell announced to his bridge crew, 6 of his 7 appendages manipulating various control surfaces, while the 7th gesticulated dismissively. Their reputation is built on 3 lucky encounters and excessive dramatization. His first officer, Sub-Commander Neth, shifted her carapace nervously. The Hortelian collective thought the same, Admiral. Their entire battle fleet was converted into an art installation orbiting Jupiter. The humans call it modern consequences and charge tourists to view it. Propaganda, sniffed the Admiral. Besides, we're not declaring war. We're simply requisitioning resources from an isolated transport. The Dominion requires the experimental quantum stabilizers they're carrying, and our intelligence suggests this vessel, the persistent salesman, has minimal defenses. What Vexari intelligence failed to mention was that human ships didn't need defenses. They were the defense. Target vessel maintaining course through the Cygnus Void, reported the sensor officer. Crew complement appears to be 12. No military escort, no weapon signatures. Admiral Zex Tarrell's exoskeleton flushed the deep purple of satisfaction. Perfect. Prepare the boarding party. Remember, we need those stabilizers intact, and we need the humans alive for questioning about their manufacturing process. As the boarding craft detached from the Vexari cruiser, not one of the 8-member team questioned why the human ship had made no attempt to flee or call for help. Not one of them wondered why the oldest rule in space was to leave human ships alone, and certainly not one of them noticed the small maintenance drone that detached from the persistent salesman the moment their boarding craft committed to its approach vector. The drone, no larger than a Terran house cat, transmitted a simple message. Mom, someone's trying to break in. I think they want your science project. The Vexari boarding craft latched onto the persistent salesman with a satisfying clunk that reverberated through its hull. Commander Kiv, leader of the boarding party, performed a final equipment check on his tactical exosuit. Unlike the ceremonial carapaces worn by most Vexari, this battle armor featured reinforced plating, environmental seals, and enough firepower to subdue a small colony. Remember, Kiv instructed his 7 subordinates, humans are physically fragile but unpredictable. Their bones break easily, but they often continue fighting regardless. Aim for muscle groups, use shock restraints, and maintain formation at all times. What Kiv didn't know, what no one had bothered to include in the briefing, was that this particular human vessel wasn't a standard transport. The persistent salesman belonged to Dr. Eliza Blackwood, who held the charming title of Quantum Irregularity Specialist at the Human Cooperative's Advanced Research Division. The stabilizers weren't cargo, they were her invention. The Vexari cutting tools made short work of the airlock. As atmosphere hissed between the vessels, equalizing pressure, Kiv felt a surge of pride. This operation would earn him significant prestige, perhaps even a carapace decoration. Breaching in 3, 2, 1. The inner door slid open with unexpected cooperation. No alarms, no emergency protocols, just an empty corridor bathed in standard illumination. Suspiciously accommodating, muttered Trooper Vex, the team's security specialist. Proceed to cargo bay, ordered Kiv, ignoring the comment. Sensors indicate the stabilizers are 2 decks down. They moved through the ship with practiced precision, encountering no resistance. The corridors were utilitarian but oddly personalized. Wall sections displayed what appeared to be landscape images. Small plants grew in recessed alcoves, and occasionally they passed what could only be described as artwork hanging on bulkheads. This doesn't feel like a transport, observed Trooper Mick, the team's technical specialist. The layout is inefficient. Too many comfort accommodations. When they reached the cargo bay doors, Kiv hesitated. Their intelligence had been flawless so far, but something felt wrong. The ship was too quiet, too empty. Life signs, he asked. Scattered. 11 humans, all stationary. None in our immediate vicinity, replied the scanner operator. With a gesture, Kiv ordered the doors opened. The cargo bay beyond was spacious and well-organized, with various containers neatly arranged and labeled. In the center sat a workstation surrounded by equipment that pulsed with a soft blue light, the quantum stabilizers, presumably. And seated at the workstation, calmly sipping from a steaming mug, was a human female with silver-streaked black hair and an expression of mild interest. You're late, she said, setting down her mug. I expected a boarding party 20 minutes ago. Your approach vector was painfully obvious. Kiv raised his weapon. Dr. Eliza Blackwood, I presume. You will surrender the quantum stabilizers and accompany us to our vessel. The human smiled. It was not a reassuring expression. I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding, she replied. These aren't quantum stabilizers. They're quantum destabilizers, and you've just interrupted a very delicate calibration sequence. As if on cue, the blue pulsing intensified. Also, Dr. Blackwood continued, lifting her mug again, I should mention that when I said you're late, I meant you're too late to leave before my daughter arrives. She gets rather protective. A new voice echoed through the ship's communication system. Younger, but with the same unsettling calm. Hey, Mom, I brought friends. Hope that's okay. Through the cargo bay's viewport, Kiv watched with growing horror as 3 sleek vessels materialized from what had appeared to be empty space. Each bore the distinctive insignia of the human cooperative's rapid response fleet. Oh, said Dr. Blackwood, checking her wrist device, and it seems the destabilizers have locked onto your cruiser's quantum signature. Fascinating reaction. I should really document this. The blue light from the equipment suddenly enveloped the Vexari boarding party, and Commander Kiv had the distinct sensation that the universe had just decided to teach him a very pointed lesson about respecting unwritten rules. The quantum destabilizers didn't vaporize the Vexari boarding party, turn them inside out, or any of the other gruesome fates that flashed through Commander Kiv's mind during that blue-lit moment of existential terror. Instead, something far more insidious occurred. They simply couldn't move. Localized quantum adhesion field, explained Dr. Blackwood, circling the frozen Vexari with the casual interest of someone examining mildly interesting museum exhibits. Your molecular structure is still perfectly intact, but the probability of movement has been reduced to approximately 0. Temporary condition, of course. Probably. Outside the viewport, the situation for the Vexari cruiser was deteriorating with impressive speed. The 3 human vessels, which Kiv now recognized as the infamous conversation starters, the human cooperative's diplomatic enforcement ships, had surrounded the much larger Vexari vessel without firing a single shot. You know what I find fascinating about galactic politics? Dr. Blackwood continued, typing notes into her datapad. Everyone assumes humans are militaristic because we respond decisively to threats. The truth is much simpler. We just hate paperwork. Quick, decisive responses mean fewer forms to fill out afterward. The ship's communication system chimed. Mom, Captain Nix from the Pointed Discussion wants to know if you're pressing charges under Article 7 or Article 12 of the Cooperative Code. Dr. Blackwood sighed. Tell her Article 12. These aren't pirates, just over-eager government agents operating without proper authorization. Kiv would have blinked in surprise if his eyelids weren't quantum locked. How could she possibly know? Oh, don't look so shocked, Dr. Blackwood said, correctly interpreting his frozen expression. Your government will disavow all knowledge of this operation the moment it becomes public. Standard procedure. The Vexari Dominion wants my technology, but doesn't want the diplomatic incident that comes with taking it by force. On the main view screen, a communication channel opened to reveal Admiral Zex Taral facing a human captain whose uniform bore more decorative elements than seemed structurally sound. This is Captain Nix of the Pointed Discussion, announced the human. Your boarding action against a civilian research vessel constitutes a Class 3 violation of the Orion Accords. Please prepare your diplomatic credentials and explanation. The Admiral's carapace had paled to a sickly beige. There's been a terrible misunderstanding. Those troops are rogue elements, acting without— Save it, interrupted Captain Nix. We've already accessed your command logs. The Galactic Assembly representatives are being notified as we speak. Dr. Blackwood's daughter, a younger human with similar features, but wildly different colored hair that seemed to shift between blue and purple depending on the light, entered the cargo bay. The Assembly's calling an emergency session. Apparently, the Vexari ambassador is already claiming mass hysteria affected the entire command crew simultaneously. Creative, nodded Dr. Blackwood appreciatively. Unlikely to work, but points for originality. What happened next defied every prediction in the Vexari Tactical Handbook. Instead of imprisoning the boarding party or demanding reparations, Dr. Blackwood made tea. Actual botanical infusion in tiny ceramic containers, which she set on a table after releasing the quantum lock on the Vexari's head and upper limbs. Since we're all stuck here waiting for the diplomats to sort things out, she explained, we might as well discuss what you were really after. Commander Kiv, still partially frozen and thoroughly confused, found himself sipping an aromatic beverage, while Dr. Blackwood explained exactly why the Vexari approach to quantum mechanics was fundamentally flawed, complete with helpful diagrams sketched on napkins. By the time the diplomatic shuttle arrived 6 hours later, she had not only identified the critical errors in Vexari quantum theory, but had drafted a preliminary research partnership agreement that would give the Dominion limited access to her stabilizer technology in exchange for Vexari gravitational expertise. The most unsettling part? She seemed genuinely excited about the collaboration. The emergency session of the Galactic Assembly was broadcast on all major networks across 17 systems. The Vexari delegation sat in uncomfortable silence as evidence of their unauthorized operation was presented with methodical precision by the human representatives. But just as the Assembly president, a gelatinous entity from Tau Ceti who communicated through color patterns and was notoriously harsh on protocol violations, was about to announce sanctions, Dr. Blackwood requested speaking privileges. While I appreciate the Assembly's concern, she began, adjusting the unfamiliar ceremonial robe that human representatives insisted she wear, I believe we're overlooking an opportunity here. The Vexari Dominion clearly recognizes the value of quantum stabilization technology. Rather than punitive measures, I propose a joint research initiative. The Assembly chamber erupted in confused murmurs. The Vexari ambassador's carapace cycled through several emotional colors before settling on a bewildered mauve. You want to reward them for attempting to steal your invention? Asked the Rigelian delegate, their eye stalks quivering with indignation. Not reward, corrected Dr. Blackwood. Redirect. The Vexari have made remarkable advances in gravitational manipulation that would complement my research. Scientific progress shouldn't be impeded by political missteps. In the observation gallery, Commander Kiv watched in disbelief as the human victim of his boarding action advocated for cooperation instead of retribution. Beside him, Captain Nix of the Pointed Discussion noticed his confusion. First time dealing with human scientists? She asked. Is this normal behavior? Kiv managed. For military threats, we respond with overwhelming force, Nix explained. For scientific curiosity, even misguided curiosity involving armed boarding parties, we tend toward collaboration. Dr. Blackwood is more interested in advancing knowledge than punishing ignorance. The Assembly eventually approved a modified version of Dr. Blackwood's proposal, with additional oversight provisions and penalties held in abeyance. As delegates filed out of the chamber, the Vexari ambassador approached Dr. Blackwood with careful deference. "Your response was unexpected," the ambassador admitted. "Our cultural database suggested humans prioritize territorial defense and technological secrecy." "Your database needs updating," Dr. Blackwood replied. "Humans don't guard knowledge. We accelerate it. The fastest way to make a human scientist share their discoveries is to show genuine interest." 3 standard months later, the first Vexari Human Research Exchange opened on a neutral station in the Cygnus Void. Commander Kiv, reassigned as security liaison after Admiral Zexteral's quiet retirement, found himself regularly escorting Vexari scientists to collaborative sessions with the human team, led by Dr. Blackwood. "The irony isn't lost on me," Kiv remarked to Dr. Blackwood's daughter, Zara, he'd learned, as they observed a joint demonstration of quantum gravitational principles. "I came to steal this technology, and now I'm protecting its development." "That's how humans operate," Zara replied, her hair now a startling orange. "When someone tries to take what we have, we don't just protect it. We find a way to make them help us improve it." Word spread quickly through galactic channels. The oldest unwritten rule about not touching human ships remained firmly in place, but with a crucial addendum. If you're genuinely interested in what humans are working on, just ask. They'll probably talk your auditory receptors off and draft you into their research team before you can blink. As for the quantum stabilizers that started the whole affair, they eventually became standard equipment on vessels throughout the Orion Spur, each unit bearing both human cooperative and Vexari Dominion certification marks and a small warning label that read, "Developed through unauthorized boarding action. Results may vary." The universe, it seemed, had a sense of humor after all, and humans, to the continued bewilderment of galactic society, remained the punchline that somehow always managed to deliver the last laugh.